Well, with the hand line, once we get to the valve opener, the valve opening elbow or valve opening T, now it's time to put a pipe in here. And so we get our aluminum tube. In this case, it's a 3-inch fitting, and so we can have 3-inch. And so there's our tubing, and it would slide right into the valve opener. And boy, this one's so beat up it wouldn't want to slide very handily. But it would slide into this fitting here. And now we got to have a way to keep it from pulling back out. So we have to put a band and latch on that critter. Set that gently down right there. And so here's a style of band and latch that will slide onto the pipe. This doesn't have the right kind of hook. Different varieties of hooks. This happens to be a ball type. And I have a regular latch style. This happens to be for 2-inch. And this is called the band and latch. And it would clip then down over that unit. Now, as the joints go, every joint's going to have a coupler. Pass that around. So here's a 2-inch coupler, so we could have 2-inch line with a 2-inch piece of pipe hooked on, and then that latch would be caught, and this 2-inch pipe would simply be tightened down around this band and latch's bolt. We just tighten it down so it becomes a compression fit so that this band and latch doesn't slide on the pipe, and we get it the right depth so that the pipe is anchored in there and it can't come out. Then we go to move it, we simply just push it backwards, it falls out, and we can remove it and walk it over to the next set. So there's a coupler. Now the coupler has a place for the band or the latch to catch, but it also has a place, obviously, for the sprinkler head to be inserted. But normally speaking on hand lines, we don't put the sprinkler head right at the ground. We put a riser on it first. So now we have to put a riser up on this coupler to the height that we desire for the sprinkler. Now that height could be, if we're in wheat, we might want maybe a 4-foot riser. If we're in alfalfa, maybe a 3-foot riser would be fine. If we're walking these through an orchard, which does occur in places, we might want to put it directly right on top of the pipe so that it's right down underneath so that it works like an under tree. So all we're just going to put the sprinkler head right into the coupler itself. So that would be some of the options we have. If we're in pasture, we don't want it tall. We don't want the cattle rubbing on it. If we're out there with cattle, we might not want any riser at all because the pasture's getting eaten down all the time, and so we'll just put the sprinkler right in the coupler. So there's lots of options. And here's a typical riser, just threads in. This happens to be an 18-inch riser, alfalfa or pasture type. And then it's ready for a sprinkler head. Now this coupler happens to be made out of rust-resistant material, has a high amount of zinc in it, similar to galvanizing. It's called Zamax. The couplers they're swedged on a piece of very thin wall steel. It's very similar to conduit, wire conduit, steel conduit for wiring. And if you put enough tension on this, you'll break the seal on these. These are just swedge fit. They're put on with a hydraulic press, and so they're flared, and you can put a wrench on here and tighten it down to the point where you'll break the seal on this thin wall steel to the fittings. So when you tighten them, you want to make sure you tighten them down here at the base, not up here. Tighten it up here, you might ruin the riser. Then on top of that, we'll put the sprinkler head.